What's going on? I'm Sam. I'm at Peter's shop, and this spray paint can rack was one of the first things I built for this place. I think I even posted about it on Instagram a couple years ago when I made it. The shop was pretty much completely empty at that point, and I made this rack to help organize some of the spray cans. So, now that I have a shop of my own, I'm gonna make one for my shop. I'll start by going to Lowe's and getting some materials. So I got the wood, I went to my boss's house to pick up the table saw from there, and then he ended up coming to the shop to see it for the first time. I had shown him pictures, but he had never actually been inside. So I gave him a quick tour of the mess and all the junk. So of course when he saw the forklift, I offered him a chance to teach him how to drive it. So he played with it too. He picked up on it pretty quick and moved some of the totes around. We talked for a while, and there's some work that I'm going to be able to do for him or with him. But now that he's gone, I'm going to unload this table saw. He helped me get it up here. It's super heavy, and when he asked me if he wanted help, I said, no, it's okay. That's what I got a forklift for. So this should be able to get it off no problem. I'm going to go set it up right now. Oh my gosh, it's not tall enough. Man, it's so close, just not quite tall enough, so I gotta take out some of the slack on the ropes. I knew I needed a bigger forklift. I do want to mention, like the comments pointed out in my last couple videos, I have been driving the forklift in an incorrect manner, such as driving while loads are too high off the ground, among some other things. So I am taking a forklift certification class, even though I legally don't need it. So you'll still see me do some incorrect things in this video, but not for much longer, don't worry. It's always better to be safe than sorry. Yeah, so there's a reason I'm not a certified forklift operator yet. That was probably pretty dangerous. Yeah, so don't do what I did. That was not the best way of securing the load, and yeah, just pretend you didn't see that. Yeah. So I've been picking up a little bit, and I've almost got this table cleared off, and I find it funny how useful this forklift is, because I'm about to move this big roll of fiberglass mat, which usually I would carry, but now I don't have to spend all that energy on it. One thing I really forgot about the router is just how messy it is. So I'm going to clean up real quick before going to the next steps. One of the things I've been looking for is a decent router table. It would just be a lot more useful and convenient where I wouldn't have to take this thing out of the box every single time. I've also been passively looking for a jointer because that would be pretty convenient too, but I don't really have a use for that yet. I'm sure once I get one I would. So the first one I made at Peter's shop was pretty down and dirty. I just used butt joints and ran screws in from the sides. It's strong enough and it lasts, but I wanted to do something a little fancier this time. I'd planned on ripping these down into little square sticks and still doing butt joints but gluing them in the corners to make it a little more sturdy. I ended up just getting a new router bit because by routering out the shelf spaces, this should hold up a lot better and maybe last a little bit longer. But I don't know, I'm just gonna put it together. This shelf's gonna end up being pretty temporary anyway because I'm gonna build a wall where it's going. So it's gonna get everything out of the way for now, clear this table off just a little bit more, and then later on I'll either move it or remake it into something that fits the space even better. And since it's so temporary, I'm not even going to put a finish on this when it's done. Not that I really planned on it anyway. That's just a really good cop out. Well, it's done, and I gotta say, it is very mediocre at best. If I realized how it would turn out, I probably would have just done the butt joints with drywall screws, but actually on camera it looks a lot better than it does in person, so that's amazing. It looks like the paints are fitting on it great, so the only thing left to do is finish filling this thing up. Well, I did learn something very important, and that's that I grossly misunderestimated how many spray paint cans I have. I think I pretty much fit everything at the shop in here, but I do have like 24 brand new cans at my house that I needed to bring in. There's definitely a few in here that I can get rid of that are almost empty or probably clogged, so I might go through those. But for now, it did what it needed to. It got everything out of the way. I had been using this shoe rack as a spray paint can holder, and it was pretty good. The only problem was, even though 2 cans fit in pretty well, it is a little bit of a hassle taking them on and off, and especially when moving it, there's not really a good way to keep everything together. So anything without a nozzle was spraying a little bit when I threw this in the back of my truck. But it did get it here okay, and I had been using it since like, I think about 10 years ago. It has definitely done its job, but now I have something just a little bit better, even though this thing will probably get taken down as soon as I build a wall right here. But whatever, it works. So it's pretty easy to make these. I just made all the shelves big enough to fit these large bottles, which I think is about 10 inches, You can make a couple smaller. You can do the slanted shelves like I did at the one in Peter's shop. And that way you can fit more, but you need a little bit wider piece of wood, and I didn't want to spend the money on that. You can also make some shelves about 1 foot tall if you wanted to store stuff like this in there. I made the bottom shelf, I think, about 16 inches or so tall, maybe 18 inches. That way I could fit 2 gallons of paint on top of each other with a little bit of clearance. The next one that I do make will probably be one that hangs on the wall like the one at Peter's shop again, because that way a desk can go under it and it doesn't take up the whole wall. I might actually keep it from the floor up just because it looks so cool. I ended up choosing this width of board because I can stagger the paints and see what's behind the first row, and if it's multiples of the same paint, that way they both still fit on that shelf. One of the best things about that shelf I built at Peter's was it only took me about an hour or so to build it. This one I tried to be a little fancier, and it probably took 2 or 3 hours. Total time was probably over 8 because there might have been a little bit of sleeping in the middle of that. But lessons were learned, the biggest one being I have way too many cans of spray paint. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and if you try making something like this, let me know. Now I'm gonna go home and get some rest. I will see you guys in the next video. I got one more can to put away right here.